What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us again on the Nonstop Bhangra podcast sessions. My name is Nix, and joining me as usual from the Nonstop team, we have my boy GT.
What up?
And we have Mr. Ravi Sandhu.
Hello.
And today we're bringing on one of our regulars that's been a part of the Nonstop team, performing with us for quite a few years, probably way before I even came on to Nonstop. From Southern California, the one and only Mr. Sandeep Kumar.
What's up, guys?
Ooh. Legend.
How you doing, Sandeep? How you been, man?
I'm good, man. I've been all right. Just hanging in there like everybody else, I guess.
Yeah. Staying in good health. That's, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, trying to. I mean, like, I live in Orange County, and our numbers keep going up. So I'm trying to. It's tricky because, like, you want to stay away because you know that people here, they're not listening. I mean, I don't mean to get all political real fast, but like, I mean, I'm in an area where the numbers are going up, not down, so it's kind of scary in some ways because you're just trying to stay in.
So, just staying in. I mean, are you guys are you working right now too, or are you just
No,
hanging?
I'm just at home with the family right now. My wife works from home right now. So then I watch the kid while she works to kind of distract him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, that's kind of hard because he likes to run in there and stuff. And that's the studios, and I let him play in there. So he's like, yeah, the days are kind of rough. But her work's chill right now. So like, I get enough time to do stuff. But in terms of gigs, there's definitely no gigs. I don't really like the live stream thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like people try to do it, and like there was way too many guys initially. And then after a while, like everybody had like 3 people at a time. So no one was really like, there wasn't much interest. So I just didn't want to, I don't like to do stuff like that where like, either if I want to do something, I want to do something that people are going to really like get into.
Yeah.
So just been doing that. And then practicing a lot. I do a lot of gear stuff. Like if you guys follow my Instagram, I'm always like, taking apart gear, getting new gear, swapping out gear. Like I do a lot of that stuff. So I've been doing that.
We're gonna get into that a little later.
Are we?
yeah, definitely.
Okay. You could bring up my Instagram post and then ask me what I'm doing.
Yeah, we're just wondering, like, in between this little conversation, are you gonna do like a firmware update?
No, not in the middle of something. You know, too, I don't really like firmware updates. They're really annoying. I just post, like when I post that, it's very sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's annoying. Like you sit down and then like all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, update! You got to do this. You got to update that," and you're like, "Oh, come on, man." I don't love
you, man. Props to you, though, man. I'm really bad with any type of updates. If I see an update, I just put "do not disturb" or "do it later." Yeah. So it seems like you're really on top of it, man. That's awesome.
It's not that. It's just I think because I buy hardware, and especially when gear's newer, firmware updates are for hardware mainly. So what happens is that they put out products before they're really ready. So like the first year or two, it's all firmware updates. Like they're not going to make it right from the get-go, which is really annoying. And then like after a year or two, then they kind of like put out updates and then you're good. So that's why I try to stay on top of it because I'm just like, well, I spent the money and I want it to work right. So it's like, you're just kind of missing out if you're on an older version.
Do you get really excited and like when you see new gear coming out, you're like, I gotta get it, or
No, I try to fight it really, really hard. Actually, I fight it really, really hard, and then usually I'll get it like later if it sticks around. Because first things first, I'm just like, all right, if something comes out, it looks good like on YouTube and all that stuff. But if no one buys it, then I know that they're not gonna update firmware or like stay on top of it. So right off the bat, it's not even gonna work right. So I usually wait, and then I'll see if I get like a good deal or something. Usually like that. And then also the other thing too is like there's a lot of planned obsolescence where like you might have an older version and they put out a new version and they're purposely gonna force you to update. Like they're gonna either make your old stuff not work properly or they're gonna add new features that only work with the new stuff. So then like they give you a lot of incentive to move forward, which is another. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, like I'll have gear and then I'll be like, oh, I got the old version of this. Should I get the new version? And then you look and you're like, oh, there's no more compatibility.
Right.
And I'm just, and then yeah, then all I wind up doing is updating firmware.
So, you know, we wanted to talk to you about like when you know, first came on to board, like with and spin at Nonstop on like coming out to San Francisco. We know
Yeah.
we've seen you come out to San Francisco in our area and spin at quite a few other events as well. But tell us
Yeah.
about your first experience with Nonstop and how you know how that came about.
My first experience with Nonstop, I had heard from, I believe it was one of my buddies in New York. Can't remember who. I think it was Dave, the Dolly.
Dave Sharma.
Dave Sharma. It was Dave Sharma. Dave Sharma had been talking about Nonstop Hunger with me forever, and he was like, "Yo, you gotta go. Like, you're right in LA. Like, they fly me out from New York, and like they're my boys." And so Jimmy had asked me for like a bunch of dates, like a bunch of times, and it just was never working. And I didn't want it to be a situation where like, you know, I just don't seem interested, you know, because that's how it goes. Like, they'll ask you like, if they ask you like 3-4 times,
Mm-hmm.
they're not gonna keep hounding you if you're just never available. They're just gonna like, all right, well, maybe we'll try again later.
What year do you think this is about?
I can look up the exact year because I'll tell you the rest of the story, but
Okay.
I can look up the exact year. I believe it was 2008 or 2007, something like that. It was definitely like 13, 14 years ago. Because the first Nonstop I went to, that was the day that my first nephew was born.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So that was the story, was like they had asked me like 3-4 times, and I kept saying no, I wasn't available. And I never heard about it, so I wasn't that excited to go. But because Dave told me that it was really good, I was like, okay, well, if Dave says it's good, it's probably pretty good. But I mean, I already knew all the promoters in San Francisco, and I'd done a lot of big gigs. I hadn't heard of them, so it was kind of weird. And then they asked me again, and I was like, I had taken like 2-3 weeks off because my sister was gonna have a kid, and I was like, damn, like they're asking me like right in that time that I took off, and I was like, okay, fine, like, you know, I'll do it, but just put me on the last flight going into San Francisco and the first flight back, because, you know, we got family stuff going on. And then of course, like, I'm taking a shower, getting ready for my flight, and then my parents called. They're like, oh, your sister just went to labor. And I was like, so then I think I went straight to the hospital instead of going to the airport.
Mm.
So instead of going to the airport, I went to the hospital, and I saw my sister like get wheeled into the room, and then I had to go catch my flight. And then
Said,
like, while I'm at Nonstop,
the show must go on.
yeah, yeah,
I got a gig.
yeah. So I like was at Nonstop, and then like I'm getting like text messages with like, you know, it's like a baby, you get like the first picture and all that stuff. So, like Vicky and Suman and everybody, they're all like oohing and awing and like all that stuff. And then like when I remember I went on, and I was like, I mean, the first time you do Nonstop's tricky, especially if you've never been, because it's so unique from what we're used to. And I've done crowds like that where they're not like your typical Desi Punjabi crowd. So you know that like, yeah, you kind of gotta find stuff that just has like a good steady beat, and you gotta like listen. I mean, all three of you guys know, like, you gotta kind of listen to things in a different way, because they're not gonna respond to the hits like you're used to. So it was cool because you got to think out of the element. And then yeah, and then I just took the first flight in the morning, like 6 a.m. Like, I stayed up all night, 6 a.m., went straight to the hospital, and then saw my nephew, and then I was like, oh, dead. So that was the first time I did Nonstop.
Was that at Public Works, or was it at the older
Rickshaw
venue?
Stop.
Rickshaw Stop. Okay.
That was, dude, Rickshaw Stop was like a different. That was different. That was very like. That was a different
Very
vibe
hot and
altogether.
sweaty.
Huh?
Very hot and sweaty.
Yeah, it was super hot. I remember, like, I don't even think they had AC in that building, did they?
No, it's just, you know, your
really.
moves are fanning the crowd for you. You know.
Yeah, and the DJ booth's upstairs, so all the heat rises, so it's even hotter. I remember that.
Robbie was telling us they had a cool little fan up there to like
They
cool
had
you
a cool
down.
fan, and they had a real rickshaw in there. That was the awesome part too. So yeah, so rickshaw stopped, and then yeah, after the first time, it was pretty much locked in. Like, we got along really well. Jimmy and Vicky are really easy to get along with, And then, yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I go to San Francisco for, short of like a few weddings. But I mean, your guys' DJ scene's picked up a lot in the last like 10 years. I mean, you three guys included, of course. So they don't really, I think you guys are pretty self-sufficient with your DJs. They don't, like before it was definitely, I get flown out to San Francisco a lot. And a big reason was, I mean, there was some DJs there, there just wasn't a lot. There wasn't enough to handle what was going on. So I get flown out a lot. But now you guys have got it like way under control. And your guys' production's really good. DJs are really good. Dollies are really good. Like, yeah, it's good.
So up until we went on lockdown, were you doing a lot of wedding events down there as well?
Yeah, that's my primary thing that I do is wedding DJing. I mean, I think most of you, well, no, you guys all have day jobs, no?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we do a lot of gigs as well. I don't know,
Yeah.
Ravi, are you doing a lot of gigs?
I don't do as many weddings, only once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GT for sure does a lot of weddings.
GT
Yeah.
does a lot of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do a lot of weddings down here. Funnily enough, they're not necessarily Punjabi a lot. I'd say like maybe 30-40% of my weddings are Punjabi. Whereas like before it was like a solid like 70-80%. And I think that's just our Punjabi scene's kind of changed. And same with you guys, like it just evolved, it changed a little bit. So you kind of go in and out. So I get a lot of mixed weddings. People really like me for like if one of the sides is not Indian. I don't know why. People really like me for that.
Like a fusion type wedding.
Yeah. So I get a lot of those, I feel.
I think, yeah, for me as well, I was doing about like 70 to 80% fusion weddings.
Really?
Versus Punjabi weddings. We have a lot of Punjabi DJs in this area that are doing strictly Punjabi music, and I think it's an experience thing for you, right? Like you've been at it for so long, you know so many genres, right? And you're able to fuse it all together. And I think that's a similar reason why people were just, even though like my company was called Bold Punjab Day, and they're still hiring me for even like straight non-Indian weddings at all. They've seen you do it.
Yeah, like I purposely tried to not brand myself like as Punjabi because I knew that like I learned really early that you can pigeonhole yourself really fast. And that's why I stopped putting out mixtapes and stuff because I would just get pigeonholed really fast. And a lot of times, like when I put out my mix CDs, I'd try to be as mixed as possible, but like this, I don't know, down here it felt like the second you had like a Bhangra mix out, people were like, oh, he's a Bhangra DJ. And I'm like, yo, but there's like, the other half is Hindi and there's house music in there and hip hop and stuff. And then they'll still be like, oh, he's a Bhangra guy. And you're like, all right, well, I don't want to be like known as that. Like, I love it. And there's a lot of, in terms of like growth as a DJ, I feel like being a Punjabi DJ is going to get you a lot of growth. Now the Bollywood guys have picked up, but back when I was putting out stuff, like if you were doing Hindi stuff, it wasn't really going to go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like for us, like, Punjabi, like all the top Desi artists were DJs. Like you had Punjabi MC, you had Punjabi Hit Squad, Bali Sakoo was a DJ. Like big name guys are DJs. In the Bollywood scene, this is like before Suketu and those guys got really popular. So it was like, there wasn't anywhere to go. And Bollywood kind of didn't like us. They didn't like that we were remixing their stuff. Some of us got like the cease and desist letters. Like they weren't really supportive. Whereas like the Punjabi guys, like they didn't care. Like Jesse Sidhu would be like down here for Brew and Bhangra, and I'd play like a remix of his song in front of him, and he'd be like, "Oh, it's good." Like they wouldn't be fun at all. They wouldn't necessarily like be crazy supportive. Like they wouldn't go out of their way and try to sign you or anything like that. But they did like it, and they did appreciate what we were doing.
You mentioned Brew and Bhangra, and I remember from back in the days, any Brew and Bhangra that I went to, you were always the headliner DJ. So I'm just kind of curious, like how was that experience for you playing at Brew in all those years? How'd you get into it? And how would you compare that to NSB?
I mean, it's different because it's a college crowd right off the bat. So it's just younger, more energetic. And then there was like a surge of Bhangra teams, like right in like 2002 to 5, where like it just be like Bhangra teams became a big thing. Like when I started doing it, like, I kind of made myself known as a DJ, and the DJ was like a big thing. and Bruin Punga became like more about the after party, because it was like we brought down Jesse Sadu, we brought down Zeus, Red Kyle, like big names. So the after party was a huge deal. And then after a while, the Punga teams themselves got really well known, and the competition itself, people would be like, oh, so and so's coming from DC, and so is coming from Toronto, and like all these people, like they had their own name. So that was a unique experience. In terms of how I got into it, at the time I was doing a lot of college parties. Like I started at my college, and then my really good friends that I was DJing with, they went to UCLA and started their own fraternity there. And so that fraternity got known for having like the best Desi parties. And then from there, like the Indian clubs, you know, they just pick up on that. Especially at UCLA, they knew that like, oh, well, the guys that do the Beta Chi parties, that's the ones we want for Bruin Pungra. And then it picked up from there. Like once I got involved, I was really close to the Zeba Music guys. You guys know Zeba Music? They were big down here. They were throwing a lot of the big name events, and they had a store. And then Rahul Khanna, RKP, that was a big promotion group down here.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they all got involved with Bruin, then that's when we started throwing like, that's when we started bringing big names like B21 and stuff like that out. Originally, they were like small. The after parties were really tiny. And it was just kind of like whatever hall you could get. And then like over time, once we got some more serious promoters involved, then they were just able to pull more numbers and get better places. And then that was awesome.
Yeah, like Ravi was saying, we used to be really excited about going down to Southern California for Bruin Punga for the after party.
Yeah,
it was always like a big deal. Not even the show. Yeah, we're all going for the after party, right? But
yeah, that's what I was saying. Like at that time, like it was all about the after party, and then it was funny after a while. The teams would get known for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed it because I get flown out to other Punga shows for the after parties in other cities.
That's
and
what
I would walk around.
Yeah,
Huh?
you spun at other ones as well. Like, how did it compare?
Yeah.
How did it compare, like LA compared to like Southern California? Southern California compared to like coming up to the Bay to do like Dol Diwas, or like going to like other states and stuff. Like what, particularly like the Bay Area. Like, how did it compare to that?
The Bay was always my favorite. Like right off the bat, like the first time I went to like no joke, the first time I came to DJ from the Bay, I wanted to move here. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna move. Like I was only like 19, 20 at the time. I don't have any money, but I'm like, yo, man, like this is where I want to be. Like these guys, like the scene it's just good. Like people just like to party, and they like. I'm not gonna say like they respect the party, but like over here in Southern California, it was always like, oh, you're going to a Desi party. Like it's kind of like, okay, we'll go. Like versus like the Bay Area, they never like look down on it like that. They're like, oh, cool, there's a party, let's go. I mean, the reason why I don't want to say respect is because there was still a lot of fights and people were disrespectful at the parties.
Yeah.
But in terms of like people were still excited to go, and like especially in the Bay, like I remember specifically in the Bay, I would make a lot of remixes that I would just keep for me for when I'm DJing live, so you'd only hear them if you hire me. And so when I come to the Bay, I'd always get a really good reaction of everything I was doing. So yeah, and then towards like the middle, like 2005-ish, by that point, it was almost like every city was the same because, you'd have a big name team from Toronto, Vancouver, George Washington. I can't even remember, man, but it became like the same group of really good teams would just be doing every single competition pretty much. And then there'd be like your top teams that were at every competition. And then a couple local guys who weren't going to go very far anyways, but they were just kind of good filler. So it was interesting because after a while, like, you get flown out to like DC and it'd feel just like here because there's like all the big Punga teams are there. So it's like 80 people from your city are in that city also. If it wasn't the Punga team, it'd be people that just wanted to go. So that was really fun. That part was really fun. And that's why I was bringing up where like, I was surprised that the Punga teams got so well known because I'd get flown out places, and then I'd go places, and then people would be like, instead of being like, oh hey, they brought down Sandeep, they'd be like, hey, isn't that Costa Junction over there? And I'm like, yo, I'm here too, man.
I'm gonna jump right in here because I have just a little bit to add to what Ravi and Niku said. So, I'm from Sacramento, and I think we've talked about this before, Sandy, but like growing up, I started like 2000-ish, 2001.
Yeah.
And whenever we got a chance to like go to clubs or those Desi parties or anything like that, Sacramento or San Jose, the headliner was Sandeep Kumar. So I remember that name across the flyers, and from here to, like I said, from from Sacramento to San Jose. And it was so cool to see that, like that. And there wasn't a whole lot of DJs doing it, so we always, at least I always considered you like this West Coast legend, you know what I mean? Like you were like headlining these shows, whether Jesse Sidhu or B21 was on it or not, but you were that headline DJ. And I knew it was going to be a good party, when I saw your name. And then not only that, but, listening to your mixtapes that you put out too, it was just so cool to meet you, like when I went down to do Nonstop that one time, I was like, man, this is the Sandeep Kumar, like.
Thank you, dude.
But what I wanted to get at was, what did you like? How did you get involved in that, like the NorCal scene? Because you were so SoCal for a while. Then, like, did you have like some connects up here, or like how did you do that?
Yeah, so the first guys to bring me up were DMC. I don't know if you remember DMC.
Harry and Dimpy,
man. Those guys, the best, dude. So they brought me down first, and Lena and Salim and the Ecstasy guys, they also wanted to bring me down. But Harry had brought me down first, and then Harry was the guy that he brought me down. And that was my first time playing the Bay, and that was when I was like, yo, I want to move here. And Harry was really excited from that because he was like, I did good. The reception from the crowd was really good. So Harry was like, yo, man, can we lock you down as like a DMC, like our DMC DJ, and you don't DJ for anybody else in the Bay for like, I think it was like a year. And he promised me like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 gigs for the whole year. And I like that because I had never been in the Bay. So that like, guaranteed that I was going to be consistent for a little while. I could build a little bit of a name. And so that's what like kind of started, is that I was, when I first came down, it was really good. Because what would happen to a lot of cities is like you do one great show and then like you don't get flown out again. And it's not necessarily your fault, but it's like, it takes time to build a name. You can't just do one show one time and then never do anything again. Or you come back like 5 years later and like, those people don't remember or anything like that. If you do like consistent, you can build a little bit, then you can get the ball rolling. But that was really hard to do with cities like, Cleveland or Orlando or whatever. Like it was hard. But the Bay was always really receptive. Yeah, and then once like my 1 year was up with DMC, then it opened up to the Ecstasy guys, which was really good too. They threw great parties. And then from there it was just pretty much open. I can't even name off the people I worked for in the Bay. There's a lot. But yeah, it was always good time. So the Bay is always, it's got a special place in my heart.
That's what's up. Well, when did you start DJing? How old were you, and like how long ago was that?
It was really gradual, so it's hard to say. I usually count like the date when I bought my turntables.
Mm-hmm.
It was in '99. So I just passed my 20-year mark. But before then, like I was obsessed with DJing like from a really young age. So I have cousins that DJ. Like I only had 2 cousins that I'm close to. Two, they're brothers, and they started DJing, and that was in the '80s when it was like, it was in the '80s, and they lived like closer to LA, like more city-wise. So you're like right in the middle of the action with like, NWA and Public Enemy and just the old school hip hop stuff. They were doing that on vinyl. They'd have backyard parties where like, they'd have break dancers and stuff like just picture straight out of the '80s, and like, I'm like a little kid. I'm like 7 years old. I've never even been to any party before. Yeah. And then you see like people scratching, doing turntable tricks, and then like break dancers bust out. You're little and you're like, whoa, this is like a vibe right here. This is like, this is cool. So from like really young, I really wanted to get into the DJ stuff. But I knew like, my cousins, they taught me a good amount, but like, I mean, I was really little at the time. So they, for the most part, they're just like, okay, don't mess with our gear too much. Especially that's like back in the days when like we had needles on records, and like, you're not going to let your 10-year-old cousin just go and mess with that stuff. They're going to, scratch records and stuff,
Yeah.
So that's when I like initially wanted to get into DJing, and then from then, it was just really gradual. Like when I got a computer and I saw like DJ software for the first time, then I just a bored kid at home just learning like whatever I could, how to cut up loops and do whatever I could. And then my parents never wanted me to DJ either because they weren't necessarily happy with the fact that my cousins were doing that. Because you're at a parties, you're out late, you're in areas that your parents don't necessarily want you to be in. They want you to focus on studies, typical Desi stuff, So once I got to college and I was actually making my own money, they couldn't really stop me. They tried. It was a lot of fighting. But I mean, I just kind of, got a summer job, bought turntables right away, and then just went from there.
Did you start off spinning hip hop, or did you go straight into like Bhangra music, or what was your first genre of music that you really got into, like even like really known for?
My favorite's always been house, but I just never got into the house scene as much. Yeah, I mean, even to this day, like if I'm at home, I'm usually playing house music or techno. Also with the DJ equipment, once you've gone beyond like blending one song into the next, it's either you're gonna get into scratching and like beat juggling and like hip hop tricks, or it's like you're adding like drum machines and effects, and that's more on the house side. So I definitely like both. Like I definitely do a lot of scratching and stuff, more so at home. But I'm into that a lot. And then house music was the first thing. Like when I bought turntables, I was buying house records left and right. And then the way I got into Desi music was kind of on accident, because I got asked by like, this is like freshman year of college, and the guys at the dorm, they knew I had turntables. They're like, oh, can you bring your turntables? We're having like party at the house. And then like I brought like everything I had, which was all house music, and then like 5 hip hop records. And like it was those records where like it's a compilation. So each record has like 4 songs, and they're all like the popular songs. So I played house all night. No one cared. It was just like kind of in the background. And then like the 20 minutes that I played hip hop, people went crazy. And then somebody asked for Bhangra, and I had like just burned CDs. Like I had a regular CD player. I didn't even have like a DJ CD player at that gig. And I was playing hip hop, and like the vibe just picked up. And then somebody asked for Bhangra. I played some, and then it went crazy. And then, the party kind of luckily ended there because I ran out of music really fast. And then after that, they're like, all right, cool, you're a DJ for the college now.
That's what's up. So you also have a full studio. Are you just doing remixes and mixtapes in there, or are you actually doing production? Are you ever dabble with production?
I do. I mean, it's that one, same thing with my approach to that. It's the same thing with DJing, is that like I do it for fun first off. So Ravi knows I have like a lot of drum machines, a lot of synthesizers. That's always been what I like to do. And then if I'm really strict about like the opportunity has to be right, like the parameters have to make a lot of sense. Like if you just put out, I mean, I get asked to do mixtapes and stuff all the time, which sounds like fun. Like, there is an element like you do want to have fun, but to me it has to be like, it has to make sense. There has to be like some strategy going on there. Like, okay, like for example, like I guess the mixtapes I'm most known for, the Broom Hunger ones, and that was really strategic. I told them, okay, like I do want to put out a mixtape. Originally it was just a mixtape for just the Hunger teams, like as like a gift, and then people really liked them, so they burned them and they shared it with everybody else. Originally they were just gonna put like their favorite songs, and then it became like, oh, can you mix it for us? And then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do like a proper mix, and then I was like, okay, we need to do this like every year, and we need to do it like this, and this. Like we're gonna hand it out to all the teams for free, and we're gonna sell it at the show. You know what I mean? Like a strategy, some reason behind it. It's the same thing with production. Like I've gotten asked to do some production stuff, which is pretty good. And also production's tricky because, and Ravi knows this too, it's really, really hard to go anywhere with it. Like it's like, to me, I'd rather just do stuff at home for free, for fun, for me, than to try to like be something else or listen to somebody else or try to like collaborate with 10 people who aren't really interested in it. Like there's a lot of parameters in there that really kind of, there's a lot of things that have to work together for the magic to really happen, for it to make sense. Otherwise it sounds really forced, or you can hear that people just kind of rush things out, which I don't really want to do either. So yeah, in terms of production, like when things come my way that make sense, then I'm down. But for the most part, that I don't really feel pressure to do that. I'd rather just do stuff for fun, and you know, if it leads to it, it leads to it. But realistically, like being a producer these days, like Ravi can talk more about it. Like that, it's really hard. Like the connections you have to make, and just like the blocks you have to build, and where that's gonna go, it's like really slim, and it's just really discouraging too. Like I don't want to get to the point where, like, I mean, I see a lot of guys that just burn out because they're trying to be successful producers and not be producers that are having fun. And luckily I've been doing it long enough where you meet a lot of producers, and even a lot of the big name guys, like they burn out because they're trying to be this, or they're trying to be that, or they're trying to get rich, or they're trying to go to the next level. And I'm just like, yo, do you even have fun? Like, do you enjoy it? Like, if not, you're like, this is like, anybody can see this is not going to go very well. You're just gonna, you know, you're either gonna chase after this dream that doesn't really exist anymore, or you're just gonna, like, I don't know, just implode. Or there's so many ways it can go bad. And I'm just kind of like, I'd rather have fun, and then if something comes along my way that makes sense, cool.
Yeah, especially nowadays, it seems like it's definitely a numbers game, because you have so many producers coming out of India and Canada. Basically, anyone who has a laptop now can produce. So, you know, keeping up with that is it's quite a feat, and it's definitely understandable how people get burnt out. But I mean, going back on the topic of production, I remember you did this remix for Delhi to Dublin, and the intro to it was super sick. I mean, it was something that they were using for their sets for, like, I think a whole tour. And I know it had like an EDM feel to it too. It had like this synthesizer, these like you know, vocal synthesizers in there that sounded really epic. So I mean, is there any like hidden gems that you got that you're gonna put out maybe one day, like, you know, just put out there to, you know, share with people? Or is it something you know, you're just gonna do how, depending on how you feel?
You know, I'll be honest, like I come and go with that so much. The last time I got like a really strong itch to do that was in 2012. I was just like, yo, man, the other thing I don't like to do is I don't like to put out like just a single, like one track here or there. And it sounds really arrogant, but I just don't like how DJs will use it. Like, it'll just, a lot of times it won't fit, and like it'll be like a good remix, but it doesn't fit with what else is out there. Not necessarily saying that I'm better than anybody, but it's just like I'll try to come at it from like a different place, and then I'll get annoyed and not want to do stuff. But what I was getting at was, usually I want to make like a completed piece. Like I don't want to make like a mix. I want to make a mixed CD. Or if I put out like a track, it has to be a track that's also a part of a full mix CD or something like that. So that there's like a completed piece of work. I don't want someone to just listen to like 3 minutes of something and then that's it. You know what I mean? Like I want something that you put on. I was gonna say CD player, like that. You did something that you put on, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna, like, you know, I like this. I'm gonna let this go.
So it's kind of like you want the listener to go on a journey, right? I mean, from start to finish, kind of like how back in the days, like when we would buy an album, you would listen to it all the way through.
Yeah. I don't want people to skip through stuff. And I want enough. And I also don't want to have like a lot of people, like they instead of making one good song, they'll make one good song and then they'll make it 10 times over. So it's like you have 10 songs, but it's really just remakes of that one song. And then a year later, then they have another song. Then they have another 10 versions of that same song and over. And I don't want to be like that either. Like, yeah. These days are tricky, but I do have a lot of gems stacked up. And I use them when I play live, depending on the gig. They get stuck into nonstop very rarely, because nonstop's very Bhangra-ish. So I just try to
share them with us. Share them with us. Share them with us.
Yeah, I'll send it to you guys if you guys want. But yeah, generally I try to keep that stuff on the low. The last time I got an itch was like in 2012. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna put out like, because that was like when there was some Bollywood remixes that were getting really big, like DJ Shadow Dubai and Who were the other guys that like? Guys like that, where they were doing bootlegs, but it was going somewhere.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I'll do some. And I made like a good, like, I think 20 remixes. And then I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like an edited YouTube video, like with visuals and stuff. So that'll be like the completed piece. I don't want to just put out like, oh, here's an album with like 10 tracks or whatever. I wanted to do something. And then a lot of times what happens is like, I'll kind of like I'll just kind of overdo it and then burn out. And so that project kind of I just kind of got over it. And also like those those remix scenes and stuff like that, they're tricky because like what I said originally, you can pigeonhole yourself really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, do I want to be known as a Bollywood remixer, or do I want to be known as just a Bhangra guy? Like, where's this gonna go? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tricky one for me.
I think now you're able to like market it a little bit different, just because we have like just different channels through the internet to market things. When I think you were back in the days, you were doing some guerrilla marketing where you're like selling CDs. Yeah. You know, it's a little different, but whatever they read on that label, they're always going to see that label. You're not going to be able to present them with multiple items like right away.
Yeah,
on the internet, right? What are your thoughts on like guys that like, you know, the song comes out tomorrow, but there's already a, you know, such and such DJ remix of it out already right now? Like that's in the Punjabi scene, like
yeah, heavy.
Yeah. Kind of annoying, but like, you know, sometimes like, yo, we know that DJ's version of it, but more than we know the original. Right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that really. I think like with I don't know, it's weird. Like some DJs, they just gotta put their stamp on everything, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. Like, if you find a song that inspires you to do remix, or if like you hear something and you're like, hey, you know, I think I can flip this to do that, which is really different, then do it. But like a lot of guys, they like, it's almost like they have like the remix template ready to go before the track even comes out. Like they got the same toll, the same intro, same bass, like overloaded bass that they got going on or whatever. And then like, okay, just drop whatever track comes out. Like it just fits right in and you're done in like, I don't know, 20 minutes.
Wow, because their version will get more hits than the original.
Yeah, that happens too. I think a lot of times that's not necessarily because it's better. I think it's just like the channels that it comes out on. Like like a lot of artists are just not supported by their label so like you don't even hear that guy has a track out, but because this DJ who's got his own like just grassroots following puts it out and he pushes the hell out of it on SoundCloud, on Facebook and all that stuff, then yeah, you hear his first.
I think that's a part of what I was saying. Like there's so many more channels for like DJs and everyone to just kind of promote themselves for free, as a matter of fact, right? You don't really have to even necessarily pay to promote yourself like you used to have to back in the days, man.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to that's the other issue I kind of have with that is that it kind of gets overloaded because like, let's say Diljit has a new song and then, you know,
there's 20 remixes of it.
Yeah, super fast. And I don't want to hear 20 remixes. I don't want to go through that. And for me, I'm big on sound quality. Like I'm really trying to get stricter on that just because like when you play on bigger systems, it really sticks out a lot more when things sound right. And remixers, like there's just so many like steps that will degrade the sound quality a lot. So like what you gain in energy, you'll lose a lot in like just fidelity. And it's tricky because like, okay, if you're playing a set and all your tracks are real clean and then you play one remix that the vibe is really good, but the sound quality is like down here, then it just sounds like crap when you play it live. And so I almost avoid that almost altogether. I like remixes. I don't like going through a million of them. But that's my beef with the remixes is that they just don't. A lot of times they just don't fit in the set.
Yeah, I mean, Ravi, how many hours do you spend on doing like mix downs and just mixing tracks? Like, think about it. If a song came out tomorrow and or today and a remix came out of it tomorrow, is that enough time for you to like really mix that track the way you want it? Like, tell me about that. Tell me about your process, Ravi, on how you like how much time you spend on mixing.
Like mixing like for a set or like mixing down a track like for a release? Oh, okay. Yeah, mixing down. I mean, I actually have my mixing and mastering outsourced to a audio engineer, but I do mix it to a point where I feel like, you know, it's pretty much in line with how I want it to be. And that's the longest part for me, because mixing is not my forte. It's not something I like went to school for or anything
Yeah.
like that. And a lot of it depends on like the type of speakers you have, the environment you have, and the plugins you have at the end of the day. And so, I mean, it could take days. I mean, you could finish a song in like 2, 3 days, and it could take you like a month or two to like mix it down and actually be happy with it. You have to like listen to it in your car, listen to it in headphones, speak, you know, like laptop speakers to make sure it sounds consistent everywhere. So it's quite a tedious process. And then so I can relate to like you know, other producers and artists when their song comes out and someone puts this like crazy dual mix with like ridiculous amounts of bass. It's kind of like it just took away from all that time and effort that you put into it to have it sound how you want it to sound.
Right.
You know?
And yeah, that's not what they were trying to build when they put their track out. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's, you know, cookie cutter production that comes out of India as well. But like a lot of producers like kind of have a mindset of this is the type of sound they wanted to do. The artist himself, like, you know, if they put in a lot of work into it, because, you know, working with a lot of these younger artists, like I know how much time they put into the mixing and mastering of their own songs. It's like, we really just undermine it if you don't do a quality job. It, you know, some of them need a remix, some of them need a different version, but like, a lot of times they're not, you know, others aren't putting that quality work into that and, you know, doing it justice.
Yeah, like that's another thing that like another reason why I'm not anti remixes, but that's another thing I have against a lot of these remixes. Is like, okay, not everything needs more dole and more bass. Like if you're talking about a producer like Sukhshinder Shindab or freaking A.R. Rahman, you think A.R. Rahman can't get a hold of a dole player if he wanted to? Like, yeah, if he wanted dole on the track and it would make sense for what he wanted to do, then he'd have it. It wouldn't be hard for them to do.
Right.
And I mean, I also get the argument that a lot of times what the producer's trying to do is for radio or for film, and what we're trying to do is for dance floor. So I get that argument too. So there's that side of it too. But a lot of times, like, you know, if there's a new track and there's a producer that made it dance floor oriented, usually it's pretty good to go as is.
But for that side of the argument, like you were saying, you do plenty of those, but they're just your gems that you keep to yourself because you need them for sets, right? I mean, like as a DJ, we should, you know, I mean, a lot of guys are doing it for promotional purposes to promote their DJ service and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of, you know, I don't know. I don't frown too much upon it. I'm like, to each their own, but I could see that as a reason to just be, you know, something to frown upon because like I said, I work with producers as well. My older brother's a producer and my artists that are out there doing things, right? And I see like how much work they put into things. I see how much work Ravi puts into things, right? So I feel from the producer side and the actual music side of it versus the DJ side of it, being a DJ and using a lot of those songs, like you're kind of torn a little bit, right? Like you and I play a lot of remixes, like, and it's, you know, you're kind of torn, but at the same time, it's like, man, there's just so much of the same song just over and over, like you said, beating it to death.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think is the core of where like my dislike for a lot of it comes from, is that the remix itself doesn't come from a genuine place. It comes from like a self-serving place. Like that DJ, he's just trying to put it out, trying to put like, okay, there's a song, okay, I need my version out too, instead of just like, you know, being like, okay, there was a song that came out, I liked it, I think I can switch it up and do something cool with it. They're just trying to be like, oh, there's a new Diljit. Oh, well, there's a new Diljit with me on it, you know? Which I understand too. I mean, business is business. Like you do want to put that out there, but yeah, there's a lot of cons to overdoing it.
So speaking of artists, what artists do you listen to these days?
Me, I listen to Baby Shark. I listen to Sesame Street. Who do I listen to? No, yeah, I have a kid, so he's getting big enough to like music and stuff. So I try not to listen to cuss words in front of him. But he's pretty good. He likes his Bhangra. It's all right. I mean, you know, he's little. He's got a lot less patience. But yeah, for me, I listen to a lot of techno, a lot of electronic. That's more inspiring for me. When I have free time, that's generally where I'll lean towards. Or a really well produced like because, you know, like Ravi has a nice studio and nice speakers and stuff. When you have free time, you want to hear something that sounds really good on that. And a lot of times it's like the pop records, like Adele's new album or Beyonce's new album. Like, you know, like I subscribe to Tidal, and they have like the best sound quality. Deezer matches it. But there's a new format. Like there's MP3, there's Wave, and then there's another one that's master quality that Tidal has. And so when I have free time, I kind of want to just like vibe out to something that's like, you know, that's like on a clarity that like no one's ever heard before. So that's just kind of cool. But but yeah, your selection's limited. You're gonna have to listen to like Bruno Mars or something like that, where it's like, okay, it's not an artist I necessarily care for, but like the experience is nice, which is what a lot of us listen to music for to begin with. I don't have any Desi streaming services, which is disappointing. I had them all. I had all of them for like a good 3 years, and then I noticed I just never listen. Like they don't for the stuff I like. They just don't keep up. Like they'll have like their new Bhangra list that they update every week, and I'm like, yo, it's either horrible or it's just like it's not every week. It's just you know, or it's like really out of touch with what's really going on. Which is really disappointing. Like I'll go through like every top 10 list, see what they're playing in India, see what they're playing in England, and then you get to the gig, and then you get all these requests, and you're like, yo, what song is this? And then you get it, you play it, you're like, yo, this is a banger. How come no one's talking about this? And I mean, I think all three of you guys can relate. We're like, there's not like a centralized place where someone really knows what's going on. And then a lot of people kind of, I feel like they react after the fact when it's like way overdone. Like Jazzy B, like I think didn't they put him in a Bollywood song recently, like way later? And when he's had like decades of success already, and it's like, okay, now you guys are picking up on someone like that. Like that stuff kind of gets annoying.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being really negative. I was just talking about something nicer. Yeah, but the stuff I do listen to, I really like. Like, there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening in the techno stuff, which is really fun. Right now, it's weird with streaming because I felt like I hopped on the streaming train a little later. Just because with DJing, like, I'm just like, what's the point of streaming music? Like, I need to have the songs. Like, I need to buy my music. I need to have it available. So I don't want to get Apple Music and listen to this, and this. And then when I'm at the gig, I'm like, oh, I don't have that. I didn't download it. I just streamed it. I forgot. Like, I didn't want to do that. But then it was unavoidable. And streaming model is kind of tricky because it's very based on, like, clicks and
Plays.
yeah, it's very based on the number of plays. Like, there's not really a reward for like the quality of stuff. It's more about like the reward comes from the quantity of stuff, which is tricky. Like, I noticed that all songs are like a lot shorter now, and it took me forever to realize it. And I'm like, oh, it's because like there's no real reason to make this. Yeah, there's no real reason to make a 6-minute song anymore. Like, if you pay 99 cents and you bought a 6-minute song and you listen to it for an hour, like that you still paid the same amount. But if that dude makes it a 3-minute song and you're streaming it, then you get twice as many hits. So yeah, so it's tricky.
That and we also have really short attention spans now, man.
That too. I think they're related. I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much available to us, like right off the bat. Like I saw a meme that said it had a billboard for an iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket, and then it had underneath it had another billboard that said with a cell phone, and it said 60 million songs in your pocket. Like there's so much available to you right now versus what you used to be able to carry around with you.
Yeah.
So our attention spans are like so much shorter. Like that's why, like I even talk to like other DJs that do, not DJs, producers that are and singers that come in that want to do like long, 5-verse songs, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I'm gonna lose interest. Like I'm gonna lose interest doing the music for you. Like, what are you talking about here?
Yeah, and then like it's weird. I listen to like old school Bhangra, and they'll have like a minute and a half of just intro.
Right.
I'm like, how did I never notice this before? Like, it takes forever to get off the ground.
I feel like songs have a expiration date now. Like they're shorter and they only last like a couple weeks maybe max, and you're on to the next one.
Yeah, especially in Punjabi music. Like I used to like talk to writers, like they'd like, oh yeah, popular right now is Snapchat. We're gonna write a song on Snapchat. And by the time the song's written and everything, and they're like, yo, we need to release it right now because now everyone's talking about Twitter. So it's like, they're just like, they're moving with them. They're going with it, and they're just trying to get it out there as fast as they can. And like you said, it's just like a time limit on it.
Yeah, it's hard. But then the guys that are really good are really, really good right now. Like Revy knows, I'm a big Bubble Mon fan. I like Mr. Dodge.
Me and Nico feel a certain type of way.
Do you? On who? On which one?
Babuman.
Man.
Ustad Babuman. Ustad Mansov.
Ravi has stayed very neutral on that argument because he knows how I feel.
I don't know,
I mean,
man.
he's like the most popular requested artist at the end of any NSB.
So
Yeah.
I do the closing, right? And by the time I come on, they're so hammered, and that's all they want is Babuman. And I'm like, dude, really? With me, you want Babuman?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta appease the crowd and play it.
Yeah, do you guys get that where like there'll be an artist that you kind of like, and then because of how their fans or because of how the crowd reacts to it, then you kind of get over that song? You guys get that?
Oh yeah,
Or is that like is that exactly what you guys are talking about with Babuman?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, Babuman's a lot of his songs were just kind of weird. He went through a really weird phase of music, like that I just didn't understand. And then his tone is always so mellow, and I was like, dude, are we high right now, or is it just the way he's singing? And
Yeah, but I think that's what I like about him is that he kind of comes out of left field.
Yeah,
it's always like kind of subpar music for a guy of his caliber, like such a great singer and such a great writer, and you're like, this is the music you went for, with it, and then
that's legit. That's a legit argument.
That's like kind of the letdown I have with him.
And as a DJ, we care about that. We have to have the beat right, and then it's like, all right, do I remix Babuman song? I don't even like his stuff. Like, now you're remixing it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't play a lot of it. Like, it's pretty rare to get a good Babuman song that you can actually play. Same thing with Satin Stardust. Like, I can't really play a ton of it, but I really like it though.
So what do you when you're cruising in your car and you had to listen to Punjabi music? What are you listening to?
Yeah, those two are up there. Okay, I have an actual playlist of like just favorite artists. It's kind of generic though. I'll be honest. Okay, so right off the bat, I have like playlist. There's a lot of one-hit wonder guys.
What's
and
the
that's
first
like
track on there?
Huh?
What's the first track on there?
On One Hit Wonders track? Oh, geez. A lot of 90s Bhangra, man. I don't like to be like, especially being like an older DJ, I really try not to just rely on my time. Yeah. There's so many guys that are like my age that like they'll be like, oh, this mumble rap sucks, and they'll just play 90s hip hop all night, and I don't want to be that guy. Okay, so favorite artists right here. So we have Babuman, Bali Sagu.
Okay.
Gurdas Maan is way up there.
Yes.
Okay.
Jazzy B.
For sure.
Mohit. Nitin Sawhney is not Bhangra, but I like him a lot.
Nitin Swami, okay.
Nitin Sawhney is my all-time favorite producer. Like, that's like my dude.
Nice.
I got a different relationship with his music, which we can get into in a second. Sherry Mon is way up there.
Always good vibes all the time.
Hindrakia, and that concludes the Bhangra part of it.
Solid list.
It is.
It is. The non-Desi stuff too.
Give us a couple, yeah.
Okay, we have Adele is up there, Daft Punk.
Okay.
Dr. Dre. All
right.
Ice Cube. I'm from the 90s and the 80s, so Ice Cube was cool back then. Not now.
Yeah, it was fire back then, yeah.
Definitely not now. Kanye, same thing. There's nothing new Kanye on there. Sandeep Kumar. Pendulum, which is a drum and bass band. Eric Prydz, Rage Against the Machine. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's kind of what I like. That's all-time favorite stuff. And then there's always songs that come and go here and there. And those are just hard to get into because they're just so like they'll be somewhere on your computer or somewhere on some playlists.
Nice. I think we all had a consensus with your point of list, like Sherry Mon. that's the dude right there, man.
Yeah.
Dance floor no brainer.
Huh?
Dance floor no brainer.
Yeah. That's like it. But that's one I'll actually listen to in my car that I really like.
Let me ask all you guys this. I mean, now that we've been stuck in quarantine, it feels like it's been 6 months, probably 4 months, maybe, right? And it seems like we're gonna be just sitting at home for a little while longer, if not the rest of this year. And artists are sitting at home. People are starting to put out music. There's a lot of new music coming out this week. in the desi scene and, you know, in the hip hop scene as well. But like, it's so saturated. It's been saturated last year, the year before. Do you think it's going to get more saturated since everyone's just sitting at home working on stuff? Or do you think it'll weed some people out of this industry?
G2, why don't you go first?
So I think a little bit of both. So right now we're seeing the oversaturated part, right? Diljit's album is next week. I know Intense's album next week. Harj Nagra album next week. The list goes on and on. I think people did play the waiting game at first, where hey, there's no parties going on, there's no clubs happening right now, so we're not going to put out those Bhangra bangers because they just won't bang how they should, right? During the summer especially. But I think now that people have seen that this is going on for longer than, you know, everyone thought it was going to be over in the summer. And I think now you'll start seeing people like, hey, let's just put out what we like. There's no more patience there, right? They're just going to put out whatever they have made. Can't sit on it for as long as they thought. So I think you'll see more and more of it come out now, kind of out of, because they have to.
Yeah.
But do you guys think that'll continue? Like, let's say 3 to 6 months down the line, are we just going to get people and stuff that we can't really party to, right? But it's just because they have to, or are new artists going to come in? Or is it just the same old guys, or is it people going to like weed out, you know, maybe some artists will retire, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's going to weed out a lot of people. Just because, yeah, I mean, it had gone from like a professional thing to like a hobby thing before, and now it's going to be like, I think some of the pros are going to weed out, and then there's going to be a lot of hobbyists. Like even just looking at the price of gear right now, like I know I'm a gear nerd, but like all DJ equipment, synthesizers, drum machines are selling at higher rates and more of it than before. Like if you go on reverb.com, that's like an eBay for musicians. They show charts of like anything you look up, like you look up like a CDJ or a Pioneer this or whatever. There's a chart on there that shows like exactly like what the growth has been like. Like, okay, 12 months ago it was selling at an average for this price. Now it says, so it's all up. And anything you look for, like most stuff is sold out of, with the used stuff at least. So there's definitely people that aren't normally musicians buying it, because right now musicians aren't making any money, so somebody's buying this stuff. So I think there's going to be an influx of new guys coming in, which could mean a new sound, which could be interesting. But I think it could go either way. I mean, with Bhangra, I think one thing that's really good is that people are always going to love it, like regardless. Like that's one of those genres it's not going to die because people like it too much. Like it's like I always say, like with DJing, like you know, like especially my age guys, like the older guys, like they'll be like, oh, the young people music sucks. But I'm like, yeah, but you know what? It's always someone's senior year somewhere. You know, like everybody remembers their senior year and everybody remembers it being dope. Like there's always senior proms. There's always like, there's somebody living like their life right now. So regardless, there's going to be like a soundtrack to that. And I feel like with Desi music, that's like that. Like, especially like our weddings are dope, man. Like our weddings are a big deal. People go and they go to have fun. It's not like even within Desis, like other people, they try to make it like more about show and, you know, arrangements and florals and stuff like that. But Punjabi is just about having a good time. So regardless, there's going to be something that people, you know, dance to. So I think like our industry is good, and it can just sway either way. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I think with this quarantine thing, yeah, it could go either way. But I think, yeah, I think it'll weed out some professional guys, and it's going to bring in a lot of new guys. Yeah. Ravi, what do you take?
Yeah, what do you think, Ravi? You're in the studio right now. Let's hear it from a producer.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get oversaturated because everyone's sitting at home. Everyone's working on music right now. Anyone that I know that's in production or that sings or writes, I mean, they're busy. They're just working away. So I think it will be oversaturated for the next few months. But I also think it's a ripe opportunity for new sounds to come out, for more experimentation as well. So hopefully there'll be, you know, good stuff coming out of it as well, and not just redundancy.
That's what's up. So I asked these guys last week on our last show. Quarantine's done. We're back out on stage, nonstop Bhangra. Sandeep, you're in the mix. What's the first song you're gonna play?
I don't know, man. That's a hard one.
It's nonstop, man. You're on stage. We're out of quarantine. First show. Let's do it. What song are you dropping?
I'll probably make something for that. I'll probably just.
Nice.
There was a lot of times, especially like the Bay Area was the number one place where I would make intros just for the gig that I'm doing there because it's just so exciting. You want to play something new, something cool. I think I'd probably make something like just a cool intro and then get into a song. But usually when I'll do that, it's like it'll be like there'll be a big gig that I'm really excited for, and I can't find something that's like ready to go. That's a good intro song.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just make something, and then from that, then the crowd's already excited, and then you can get into something like a little less exciting. I think I would make something, man, because it's been a long time, and there's a lot of energy built up. Like I was saying, right now I'm not that excited about DJing and all that stuff. Like it just kind of my relationship with music's kind of I'm not that happy with it. I still have fun, but I'm not like DJing. I want to do it. I don't want to do lives. Like I see people live streaming. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like I got some time off. I just want to spend some time off. But I think once it comes back, then I'm going to be really, really into it. So I think I'd make something there.
Yeah, I mean, on the weekends, like, I for the first few months, I guess I could say, right, like every weekend we're busy gigging or we're doing like a club gig or there's something, right? You got 3 to 4, maybe even more gigs a month, and not having that on the weekends is like I didn't know what to do with the free time, like to begin with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it started off like that, anyways, right? But I missed it a lot, and then
I get a lot of DJ buddies that are like that. Like,
yeah,
I don't have to do it free time. I'm like, I do. I'm like, I had tons of projects, look stuff up on YouTube or whatever.
And there was plenty to do, but it was like, man, but my sleep schedule, like I don't know, like because working a day job, you wake up. I wake up really as early as I can. I try to get up around 6:30, hit the gym, go to the office, right?
Nice.
But then I won't go to sleep until really late,
Right.
and the reason is because you can't make the adjustment on the weekend to your sleep schedule because you're up. You could sleep in a little bit on the Saturday or and then you're just out gigging until like midnight. We're in the Bay, so gigs end at midnight, and you're packing by like 1 o'clock, and you're home by 2.
Yeah.
So it's like what's the point? What was that?
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah. Unless you're really like
And you need to have the most energy at the end of the night. Like it's not like you're just You're not like your adrenaline level goes through the roof at midnight.
Right.
So
yeah.
You're not coming like for me just straight up like whether like when I come back from the gig, I need at least an hour of just come like downtime at the pad just to come down. Like
100%. Yep. Same
like,
here.
I'm amped. I'm just awake and like even if I was tired before, like sometimes I'll be leaving the house and I'm like, I'm kind of tired. I'll probably crash out, right when I get home. And I get home, I'm like, all right, I gotta like. Do you guys have this where like after a gig, you like kind of continue the set in your head or like on your car, and you're like, yo man, I should have played this, I should have played that, and then like I'll just do like my own set for like another hour and a half, and then I'll be done with it.
On the ride home.
Yeah, specifically on the ride home. And then sometimes when I get home, then I'll still be like, yo man, you know what else is dope? The song. You know what else is dope? That. You guys do that too, or no? That's just me.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time, man. I should have played this. I forgot to drop this track.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. During the dance off, I should have did this. Like that kind of stuff.
By the way, I'm gonna move into my studio now. I think my kids can see the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So you guys can see a tour of my house behind me as I walk through.
All right, nonstop. I'm gonna checking out.
Sharni right there. She's
Sandeep Kumar's facility, house. That was the done.
NSB Cribs.
NSB Cribs right now. Yeah, serious.
On the tour.
Yeah. Yeah. There's my kids sleeping. So here's me. I'm assuming you guys want to see stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
See what you got going on in the lab.
Okay, so here's the lab. There's the first station.
Okay.
So that's a Virus TI and then Genelec speakers.
I have the same ones. They're awesome.
The Genelecs are great, man.
Okay.
And then this is like the main setup.
Whoa.
So that's a desk that I built myself. So I made that from scratch from like bare wood.
Wow.
Wow.
And I don't think I need to get into all that. There's a lot of stuff there.
You've been holding out on us, man. That's badass.
Yeah. And then this is like the newer one. Like I just bought more stuff. So I just Made like a little corner thingy.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, that one I like.
Sense right there.
Huh?
It's a sense right there.
Yeah. So going back to production, like, yeah, I know how to do all this stuff, but it's like, I don't want it, like, it has to make sense. It's got to be like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. I don't want it to just be like, yo, man, I get that all the time from DJs. Like, yo, man, I made a track. I'm like, cool, man. What do you want to do with it? You're trying to put it out? You're trying to, like, use it for your sets? You're trying to, is it for a club? Is it for radio? Like, what are you thinking? And, like, they have no idea. Oh, I'm thinking maybe it'll go, like, in a film or something. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have, like, the resources to get that done? Or are you trying to get there? Because it's two different things.
Yeah, that's a whole different world.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all of it is really, like, you really have to know where you're going or where you want to go. Because, yeah, a lot of guys, they'll be like, yo, I think this would sound good in a commercial. And I'm like, do you got commercial hookups? Because otherwise, that's a whole other ballgame.
Do you ever just go into a studio and just sit there and just go on a splurge and just make like a whole library of beats for yourself, or
Yeah.
does that work?
The one thing I'm really, really bad about is saving. I don't like saving anything. I'll work for like hours and hours and hours, and then I'll just go click and just turn off the power and be like, cool, it's gone.
What?
Yeah. I don't know. I
Just
just
anxiety just thinking about that.
Huh?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just my thing. Like it's just like I don't know.
Killing me. You're killing me.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of stuff, obviously, so I work a lot. But yeah, that's just my thing. I kind of like doing it because it's just kind of like, cool. That was what we did today, and then just like go.
Wow.
And I know it's a bad habit because I'm like, okay, a lot of times those are really good. You should just, sometimes it just takes 2 days to finish what you were doing yesterday. But I'll just be like, nah.
You just sit there and have a library of beats, so you never know what it could turn into. I mean, I don't know. I mean, hard drive space is, if you just put it on external next time, start saving it, man. We want to hear your stuff. That's what I'm trying to get at, basically.
Yeah.
So there's another thing, that I hear about called ear fatigue, right?
Yeah.
So like you make something, you spend all that time and you've been just banging it for like 4 or 5 hours and you get sick of it. But if you save it, then you come back tomorrow and then, maybe it's something that you decide to keep or continue working on or something like that.
Yeah. A lot of times
That's a real thing.
A lot of times you get the opposite too, where like you're just working on something and you hear it so much that you think it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day you hear it with a fresh set of ears. You're like, dude, this is horrible.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't like the idea of just having like a library of crap here and there. For me, it's just like, oh, it's just practice. Like you're just having, I guess maybe it's like the commitment aspect. Because once you save it, then it's like, oh, this is something I've worked on. Versus like, otherwise then it's just like, oh, I'm just here to have fun with no necessary goal in mind.
No, I hear you.
But I'll tell you one thing, just plugging in all this shit takes a lot of time too, man.
I bet.
Dude, that takes a lot. And there's always something new I gotta get, especially when you buy new gear. You're like, oh, I need a new MIDI merger, or oh my God, power supplies. I have like half that table back there is all just like Furmans.
Just thinking about the amount of plugins you got. I mean, if you tried to do like half of that, I mean, you'd have to unplug a bunch of stuff, and move it around or something. Yeah,
what's funny is my kid, he's 2, and he's figured out there's 2 switches that he needs to turn on so he can start playing with the things that he likes, and he knows which 2 to turn on, and then he'll start jamming away. So it's funny, dude.
So do you think he'll get into like playing any music, playing instruments, or is he just are you gonna have him learn how to spin records, or what are you gonna put him on?
When people ask me that, my first reaction is like, no, like I don't want him to. But it's not because I dislike DJing or anything like that. It's just like DJing to me is really personal based on my personal experiences in my life. So to me, it's really special. So I don't want to just push that on someone else, anybody. It could be you guys or anyone else. That's why I never started a DJ crew. That's why I never did any of that stuff. I'm like, if you like it and your life led to it, then that's awesome. But, for me, yeah, my life led to it and it was great. And I wouldn't want to take that experience for someone else. Like maybe he feels that way about acting, poetry, marketing, finance, anything. I'm more so I really want him to have his own path. If it is this, then it is. That's great. That'd be cool. I'll fight him over gear probably a lot, but if he likes it, then that'd be cool. But I think it's as long as he has his own life path, then I'll be happy. if it is what I did, then that'd be cool. But yeah, I don't want any pressure. Like there's a lot of people like you grew up with, especially like I've been doing it for a long time, and like the DJs you start with, sometimes you kind of leave them behind, and then there's always like this weirdness because like maybe you guys were in a crew together like years ago, and then you kind of dropped them to do your own thing, and then it's kind of like a rift in the relationship. It's weird. Yeah, but yeah, if his life path led to that, I think that'd be cool, but I wouldn't push it at all. Sorry, I gotta find a laptop charger.
I forgot to ask you this earlier, or mention this earlier, Sandeep.
Yeah.
But we played at Nonstop LA a couple of times, and there's two things that I noticed about you from that. One, you're a man of many hats.
Like physical hats?
Yeah, you always wear like a lot of different hats, which are really cool ones too, by the way.
Thank you.
Two, that you like to use Tractor. And I think us three are more Serato guys. I don't know how true that is, but most of us three usually spin Serato. And I know you, when you came on, you would like switch out the vinyl, and you got your own settings you change and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you just like Tractor better, or is there a reason for that, or what?
There was initially. I mean, there is some reasons. Like Tractor, like most of you guys know what MIDI is. Mm-hmm. Tractor just has a lot more MIDI stuff. Like you can customize MIDI stuff. So if you'll notice, like usually we're on like a S9 mixer. Yeah. And that's not designed to work with Serato, with Tractor at all. But I have like a custom MIDI map. So once I turn on Tractor, then my custom MIDI map shows up on the S9, which is nice. It's really nice because then it's laid out the way I want, not the way that Pioneer wanted. So that's the biggest one for Tractor. The other one is the sound quality is a little better. There's kind of settings where you can kind of bypass certain things. Like you can bypass like the internal EQ and filter and all that stuff, so it's not affecting it at all. So like it's like it goes just MP3 and then straight to your mixer. And I noticed it comes out cleaner, especially on bigger systems. So that's a big one. And then Tractor just originally had a lot more options. Now they don't. But originally they just had like cool hardware they're putting out, and they first put out the way they work with samples and remix decks and stuff like that. It was very like futuristic and different. Like you can do a lot of stuff. Like when I'm doing Nonstop, because it's Bhangra, there's not a ton of like leeway in terms of what you can do with it. Right. But when I do weddings, like I definitely switch it up. So there's a lot you can do, like loops and effects and stuff like that. I don't go all crazy, but like just having like there's just like small transitions you can do here and there where people are like, whoa, that was really cool, and you just want to do something different. But yeah, I mean, I still like Serato a lot. I'll use it. I always say I don't have a problem with it, and when people ask me what I use, then I'll say everything. But reality is I barely ever use Serato. I like it though. I think it's really good. And Tractor lately has been lagging because Native Instruments they sold. Right. And then they laid off a bunch of workers, so they're having like a lot of internal stuff. So everything's just slower right now than usual. Before they used to be like on top, they'd be like compatible with every hardware and have all these cool things going on. Now it's kind of slow, but yeah, the primary thing is the sound quality, and then just being able to have my custom MIDI maps. I can, even like a S9, I can customize it the way I want to work.
I feel like last time you came to SF to spin with me anyways, you just showed up with a USB.
Yeah.
And you just plugged into the CDJs direct.
I like that better.
Yeah. Didn't have to carry a laptop, didn't have to go too much into detail with anything.
Ties in what we were talking about DJing off a USB stick. Mm-hmm. If you look at like why I have so much stuff, it's because I don't like to use computers and laptops really. I mean, you get a lot of work done. When you need to get work done, that's how you get it done. But when you're having like just like the mental experience of something else, like, I mean, we rely so much on our cell phones and our laptops. It's like, if you can just do something else, like just zone out into another piece of gear, it's really nice. So same with DJing. Like if I'm able to DJ off a USB stick, it's really nice. The only thing is the organization's kind of harder because you can't just click and search it the same way. Mm. But right off the bat, the sound quality is way better. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, if like you play a song in Serato and I play the exact same song on a USB stick and the meters are the exact same and everything, it's going to sound louder and clearer on the USB stick. So that's a big one. And it's just usually when we do those gigs, we're not really set up to do that. Usually it's primarily set up for laptop.
Yeah, nowadays everyone's just going right off. We're usually just going right off the controllers. I mean, like we'll use the SZ or something, and just it's easy to switch off. You could put two laptops, and it's just a quick switch.
Yeah.
But we were all shocked when we saw like Punjabi MC come out with the CD case like last year.
Yeah. You just had the the loaded CDs just left and right. You know, had a couple, maybe like 7 or 8 CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When we brought him to LA, he had the same thing. It was just some CDs, which is cool. I mean, I get it. Like, even for me, like when I switch gear, I'm really hesitant about it, and I don't want to do it on like an important gig. But CDs are pretty unreliable though at this point compared to USB sticks.
Yeah, you remember when they used to get scratched and you're just trying to like wipe it off on your shirt?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to make
rubber with the banana.
Banana.
Yeah,
I never knew about that one.
Yeah, that works. That one works. Banana or I had heard that car wax will work, but I never did that. But banana does work though.
Wow.
I've definitely had some CDs that wouldn't play, and then you just like you massage banana into it, not so it's wet. Like you have to rub it off.
Yeah,
but the banana will like fill in the scratch, and then you can get going.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, what do you do like so we were talking about this last time too, like, you know, you ever get the cell phone in your face, like play this song, like
I hate that.
what's your reaction to that? How do you deal with that?
I usually do like this. They'll be like just my hand just like that, just like give me 1 minute. But lately I've been very not aggressive, but I'm very okay, this is what happens a lot in society, right? Somebody will start accepting certain behaviors that are really rude. And what I'll do is I'll respond with the same energy, the same level of respect. Whatever respect you have for me, that's how I'm going to respond back to you. So whether it's like a telemarketer on the phone or somebody coming up to you like that, I'll respond the same way. But somehow I always look like the jerk when I do that. It's like people put the cell phone in my face and then I put a finger up, like just give me a second, because you're obviously not, you know, like back in the day, people would come up and be like, hey man, how's it going? I love your set. Hey, can you throw in some of this? Okay, that's a nice way to do it. Mm-hmm. If you're just throwing it in my face, I mean, I get it. Like some people think it's just more efficient to just do that. But when you're in a dark club and you have a bright thing just hop up in your face, it's really annoying. I think we can all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
So usually I'll just respond with the same level of, okay, you know, you're just throwing something in my face, I'll just throw something in yours, and it's give me 1 minute. And people get really offended. People think I'm being a jerk, and I'm like, yo, you threw a phone in my face, I threw a finger in your face. It's the same. I don't see the problem here. You know, like I don't feel like I need to explain further. And I don't have a problem with requests. I get it. I mean, I'm generally not going to stop everything I'm doing to like accommodate it. Sometimes it's good. A lot of times you find out cool tracks that way. They might have something that you wouldn't have thought of playing, and then you play it. It goes crazy. Or like I mean, you guys know, like sometimes there's like, it's just, there's a group of guys that like this one really mediocre track, and then you play it and they go crazy and the party's like kicked up a notch.
Right.
But yeah, that's my response, is I'll usually just be like 1 minute, or I'll grab the phone. Sometimes I'll be a jerk and like pretend like I dropped it or something, or I'll put it down. I'll like look at it and then put it down like next to me, and then I'll look like I'm busy. So this guy has to like wait for his phone now.
Yeah, I was telling them I'll grab it and I'll put it in my back pocket, and I was like, oh, I thought you were giving me your phone.
Yeah. No, I know that can come across as being a jerk, and at Punjabi gigs especially, I'm kind of scared of that, because I've avoided many ass kickings. Like I've never gotten into a fight at a Desi gig ever. I've always avoided it. Knock on wood. But yeah,
you're lucky.
Yeah, it's definitely come my way a few times. And I'll avoid it one way or the other. Now I'm very like more, not passive aggressive, but I'm just like, all right, if you want to be nice, you can be nice. If you want to be a jerk, you can be a jerk. And sometimes you don't know, so I'll just respond the way you're responding. But yeah, I mean, some people really aggressively get in your face. I don't think people realize that. Like sometimes I wish that there's somebody behind me recording what's going on, because I'm like, dude, if you see how people talk to us when it's just us and them and they don't think anybody else can hear, they're pretty bad, dude. Like they can be pretty
Oh
bad.
yeah, very.
Especially if they're drunk and they feel entitled because it's their brother's party or they're this party or whatever. Yeah, it can get pretty rude. And I don't think people realize that. I just want to make like a YouTube compilation so people see what people say to us.
So me and GT run road shows. Ravi works with one of his cousins as well, and they have massive road shows out here. So when we do like Punjabi weddings, I typically do a lot of small, like intimate, like Napa Valley style weddings nowadays, right? I love that. It's just basic, a lot less production. My question is about production. Like I know I've seen GT's Roadshow, his team like do like big production. Ravi and his cousin, they do massive production weddings and stuff. How is it down there, and how do you do like your thing down there?
Yeah, so I'm linked up with a couple guys as well for production. I feel like I never really push it or market it because I always want I don't want people to call me for that. I don't want people to call because they saw like a crazy screen I had or whatever. Like I want people to like I still don't put out much marketing ads online for private gigs. I try to be more word of mouth because then it forces me to work harder. And like also when I'm like when it kind of focus more on music, then I want calls because people are like, oh, the music was good, No offense to you guys or anything like that. That's just how I want to do. I don't want to, and it's tricky because when you do it that way, like I notice the guys that get production, they grow higher and faster because people see this production, they want it, and they want a little bit more. And the next year they want more, and next year they want more. And like from a business model, it's great. When you do it the way I do it, where you're like, okay, I just want people that like good music, then you get all across the board. You get big gigs, you get small gigs, you get people with a lot of money, you get people with not that much money. So that's kind of how I do it for those gigs. But for production, yeah, I have guys that I work with. A lot of it's outsourced. There's some guys that I work mainly with 3D Sounds and Ambiance AV. I don't know if you know them down here, but they've got Ambiance used to have DJs. They don't so as much these days. 3D does. Yeah, like with 3D, like I'm like part of 3D. I'm just like kind of like a 6-man with them. Like they've got their own guys, but then, they'll hire me for stuff sometimes. And when I need production, they're like usually who I go to.
Just like out of the local scene down there in Southern California, do you typically notice like other DJs, like other weddings? Like if you ever seen any like people posting, like, is it big on production down there in general, or?
Yeah, it's bigger on production than it is on DJing. But like not in the same way you guys are into it. You guys, it still comes down to the music. Like you still have to be a good DJ with good music. Over here, it's like the decorator guys, the decor people, they kind of have like first say, like they kind of like where you guys get the priority, I feel, at your gigs. For us is decor and then DJ. Like we have to work around decor a lot of times. Like if we set up speakers and it's a high-end decorator, they're like, dude, you got to hide those, you got to drape them, you got to do something, but we're not going to let you have it just like that.
That's kind of something we've been working on as because as packages and production has been evolving, because the younger kids want these huge setups, these huge screens and stuff. And we have to tell them that, hey, if you're gonna pay X amount of money for this huge setup, you can't put us in the corner. Like, right. You gotta like it's not gonna be worth it unless we have like some sort of a proper stage or like some sort of at least right on the dance floor or something. A lot of guys you'll see they'll do all that and then they'll put us in the corner and we're like, what's the point of having like leather and all this and like 60 panels, LED panels that you guys all familiar with? And it's like, so I think you have to like keep telling them that over and over again, like, hey, if you want to do this kind of stuff, then make us a part of make it a show, make it a part of the whole event, rather than just tucking us in the back or us hearing stuff from the coordinator, like, hey, hide your speakers or whatever. And we've all done that too, but we're kind of like, hey, we don't want you to do that anymore, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so you guys do get that then. I thought you guys didn't get
Yeah,
that.
we do.
It's starting to now. Yeah. I mean, like me personally, like from my experience, like I just said, I defer to the coordinator and the decorator. Like, yo, I don't really want to bump heads. People like, I make sure the client hired me for music purposes. Right. And, we'll offer them like everything that anyone else does. And, however they want it to look, we'll make it look. But we don't want to bump on the day of. We're working with all these other people. Right. So like, I've always just figured, if we're all working in cohesion, it's just a little better. Like, yeah, we'll bump heads with coordinators sometimes, especially like some of them that are very picky, or they want you to do work on their demand and stuff. We'll bump heads and all that, but it's like, at the same time, it's they're kind of running the show. They got the chart. Like, you got to follow the timeline, and we got to go on every step that they say. So it's like, yeah, we might as well just be all in like, in sync, right?
Yeah. Okay, so it's not like how I assumed it was, because I see setups from
It's changing.
I see setup like the stuff I see posts online from a lot of you guys in the Bay. I'm like, yo, man, I would get killed if I set up like that. Like, they hate trussing. Like, just right off the bat, they're like, dude, trussing, it's ugly. This is not like a nightclub or whatever. They'll be like, dude, that's ugly. Can you cover it? Can you put it behind something?
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, a lot of people were like, all white, everything. But just buy white speakers or paint your moving heads white. We want everything white.
Yeah. Trusting is kind of going away here too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we'll do the totems instead of like just having the bare truss, just have it covered, right. Stuff like that, right? Yeah, and I agree though. Like, it's kind of an eyesore. Like, if you're at a wedding, you got this classy venue and everything, and you got all this metal showing, right? To an extent, it is an eyesore. But what's changing is now we're putting like the LED TVs in front of it, and I see more and more guys do that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, that's what they're demanding these days. Like, yeah, I'll get events where, because I just like you, I outsource all that work, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like, our music is one thing. Yeah, cool. They love the music, but this guy's doing all that and a bag of chips. Like, they have, like they'll give more stuff, right? And that's kind of where like the stuff is more important sometimes rather than just the the music, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like, over here, we're at the point where like a lot of these guys, it's more about the stuff than the DJs. Like, they'll just like, it'll be like a lot of times like you get hired by another DJ because he's like, oh, now I'm just busy with production, so can you just spin? And I'm like, yo, didn't they hire you to DJ? Like, I'm like, I'll take the gig, sure, but I guess they don't really care that much about it. So yeah, like there's some points down here where I'm like, yo, is this where we're at? Like, one time, a well-known high-end coordinator wanted me to DJ from behind the drape. She's like, just set up the DJ table and everything just behind the drape, so you can't even see anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, what? Like, no, I can't work that way. It's not gonna work. And I'm like, yo, I have a facade and everything. Like, we'll cover everything. And yeah, she legitimately wanted me to DJ a whole wedding from behind like behind drapes, so I couldn't see. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do it, man. And I was just hoping. I was like, dude, I hope that's not where this goes. And then yeah, generally it's more here about this stuff. Like, there's DJ crews that aren't good at all, and they get constant business just because like the pictures look nice and I mean, I get it. Pictures are important and all that stuff. But yeah, it'll be guys that like, or it'll be like a well-known company and they just start hiring random DJs.
Yeah.
And and then you're just like, oh, okay.
So when do you anticipate us getting back to action?
Ooh, I don't know, man. Honestly, I thought I thought the quarantine was gonna be 2 weeks. Like, no, like my clients called me and they're like, yo, we want to delay, and I'm like, yo, just hold off, man. I was like, dude, they're not gonna shut down the entire government for like a month or two. They're gonna shut down for like 2-3 weeks, let it die off, and then we'll be back to normal. And a couple of them, they listened, and then they're like, dude, you're so wrong. So I don't even know. I mean, for us, like, it takes months. Even if we open up tomorrow, it still takes months to organize an event. And like we were saying earlier, there's no living off of making music right now. So even if we open tomorrow, we still have like another three months before we can get gigs going. So I'm saying 2021. I think we're just gonna, this year is just gonna be pretty much a wash. Like we're just kind of just ride through it, and then 2021 will be good, I think.
Yeah, man, our nonstop followers, all the fans that come out to the gigs, man, they want to see you back out there soon, man. So
Thank you, man.
you got any shout out for them?
Yeah, shout out to NSP crew, man. Everybody's awesome. In LA too. LA surprised me. I didn't think Nonstop Hunger in LA would become what it was, but it's become really awesome. Really proud of it. And you guys, man, you guys are all really cool. I never get to hang out with you guys though. So this is cool getting to chat.
That's one. I guess that's one benefit of quarantine. Like, yo, me, Ravi, and GT are always texting each other. And
oh, really? Throw me on my group text, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I'm glad we got to do this, and got to know a little bit more about you, and got inside of your studio, man. Checked out all your cool stuff, and any last words for you guys, Ravi, GT?
Yeah, man. Next time you come out to the Bay, like, save like a day or two so we can all actually hang out and,
yeah, definitely, dude.
time outside of the venue.
Yeah, dude, definitely.
Sandeep, man, much respect. Love you, man. Anytime you're up here.
Thank you, man.
Me up.
That sounds good, bro.
Now, thanks again for joining us today, man. I appreciate this. This has been great. A lot of good knowledge you dropped on us, and it's been fun.
Cool. Thanks, guys. All right, take care, guys.
Peace out.